5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Awesome. Okay, so great show. Okay, great show we're gonna have tonight. So first of all, let's get this immigrant stories on the move on. First of all, we have a great host for you this evening. He writes for This Show Has 22 Minutes, which those of you in Canada know is the place to be. And yeah, he's actually, maybe it's not. He's going to tell us if it is or it's not. But anyway, please welcome your host for this evening. Put your virtual hands together for Leonard Chan.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you guys for coming out to the show. We really appreciate you being here. I know all you guys have you guys all have your microphones muted. That's okay. That's fine. If you unmute, great. We can hear you laugh. Fantastic. But if not, no worries, because I have a great imagination, and every time I tell a joke, it does all the heavy lifting. Like, this is what I see every time I tell a joke. It's all good. It's okay if you guys aren't, keeping it live. But like, who here is an immigrant? You can do a thumbs up. You can say in the chat. Okay, cool. You all are. That's fine. No, my parents are immigrants. My parents are from Hong Kong. They came to Canada, so I grew up in Canada. So my entire childhood was a mixture of white and Asian stuff. All right, so like peanut butter and jelly fish, which is delicious, by the way, guys. Jellyfish, delicious. Anybody here eating jellyfish? Anybody? Peter, yes. Yeah, jellyfish. All right, Asian cuisine is amazing, all right? Because we eat everything, all right? Like in China, the show Planet Earth airs on the Food Network, okay? That's why we have coronavirus, but whatever, it's worth it. Preeti, where are your parents from? He's typing.
They're from India. Can you hear me?
Yeah. India, oh yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
India,
yeah.
Great. I was just in India. It was very busy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but the thing about India, I remember it was like, I was in Mumbai, I was all over, but in Mumbai, there's like that condo, like that not a condo, sorry, it's the guy's own home, and it's like a $1.7 billion, like 40-story house, like in the middle of Mumbai. It's crazy. But then like the base of it, there's like a dude sleeping on a cardboard box. I'm like, that's income inequality in a nutshell. It's yeah, but that's why I'm grateful that I got to grow up in Canada. I got to grow up in, like here, this is a real brick. This is my brick wall, which I like, it really makes me feel comfortable, where I can tell jokes where I'm comfortable, like in a back alley. But it's nice to be in Canada, versus the state. Who here is from America? A bunch of peoples. Nice. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like, this is America right now. Like, this is America right now. Not going well, all right? I think it's the leadership. I think there's a problem with the leadership. We have Justin Trudeau, which I think is great. All right, Justin Trudeau, he's like our Obama. He's young, he's handsome, he's black. But yeah, I think America, we got some problems, man. Like, height of the pandemic, we like later on the show, like we have a comedian who's also a scientist, and they will tell you what's going on is not great. Like, they reopened Jersey Shore in the middle of a pandemic. Like, why would you do that? Like, is this what you need to protect? Like, I don't understand why this is necessary, all right? Like, they had a chance to shut it down forever, all right? They could have reduced the spread of literacy, all right? Reduce the spread of coronavirus and increase the spread of literacy. That's what they could have done, all right? Like, say what you will about how China's handled this pandemic, but there's no way they would have let spring break happen, okay? Yeah. Look, I love America. I love Americans. But you guys are done. Learn Mandarin. It's time to learn Mandarin. Because America used to be great. I think, like 50 years ago, you guys invented a vaccine for polio, you put a man in the moon, and now Americans don't believe in vaccines or the moon. So it's not going great. But anyways, I spent, how was everybody's pandemic? Everybody have a good pandemic? You guys mostly stay at home, yes. I also did that. I stayed at home with my wife. My wife is, I married a white woman. I don't know why I had to mention that, but you know why? Because screw those white guys and their Asian girl fetishes. I'm taking one back for the team, all right? Need this. My team's getting killed right now. But here's a fun fact. My wife's name is Jackie. And if you guys are paying attention, my last name is Chan. She took my name. I'm married to Jackie Chan. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got married for that joke, guys. Got married for that joke. But yeah, like it's fun. Like she loves cats. That's her big deal. She loves cats. So we have a lot of cats, and that's how I spent my pandemic, is with a lot of cats. We have a lot, like basically, like I'm basically looking at the webcam, but on the other side of the webcam, this is what I see right now. I told you, this is all for Veronica. This whole set is for Veronica. But we have, we have all the cats, and I love them. All right, they're pretty smart. Or you got really smart cats. The other day, I was arguing with one of them about politics. You know, we were arguing about who the best socialist leader was, and I said Lenin, and they were like, Mao. That's an incredibly stupid joke. But no, I gotta tell a story. So here's the thing, like, one of our cats, his name is Gimov. This is a fun one. And Gimov, so he has, what the clinical term is, tiny penis. Like that's literally what the vet wrote down on his file. He's a tiny penis, and which is not fun for him. I mean, I wouldn't know. My penis is huge compared to cats. And so anyways, what happened is because of his tiny penis, like he couldn't pee properly. And it was a problem. And the vets had to remove his penis, and they gave him a vagina. Like my cat transitioned. I didn't know they do that, but it's awesome. So now Gimov is Shemov or Namov. I don't know. I don't want to assume their gender. But here's the thing. Like the fun thing is that all the other cats just treat him exactly the same, and I think that's fantastic. All right. I think we all should be doing that. Like cats are very progressive, right? They've had gender-neutral litter boxes for quite some time. I think like they're very chill, and I think humans need to be more chill, right? Because we're not chill right now. I mean, obviously there's like a worldwide pandemic going on. That's a bit of a problem, but generally not chill. A lot of xenophobia happening. I mean, Asians are kind of getting the brunt of it because of coronavirus for a little while. You know, for people, you know, it was a bit of a bump in the road for us. People were like, oh yeah, crazy rich Asians, always be a maybe. Asians stuff is sick. And now people are like, oof, Asians are sick, which is not great. But I also think like if you're, you know, like there's more violence, people are attacking Asians. And I honestly feel like you're racist enough to assume that all Asians are responsible for coronavirus. You should also be racist enough to assume that all Asians know martial arts and will kill you with their pinkies. So maybe you should, you know, think about that. And I think it's important for people to travel, right? I think because xenophobia is everywhere. You know, like we have to, you know, like people are screaming like, all these immigrants are stealing our jobs, right? That's a thing that's happening. And by the way, like an immigrant like crawls through the desert, climbs over a wall, goes in the middle of America and steals your job, you suck at your job probably, right? So I think it's important to travel. Anybody here like traveling? Yeah. America is the Taco Bell of countries. That is correct. America is the Florida of the world now. But no, but it's good. I think it's important to travel. I think like everybody's got to get out there and see other cultures. This is what Immigrant Stories is about. It's about understanding each other. It's about understanding each other's cultures, like going out and exposing, having other cultures exposing themselves to you. Like I like to travel to expose myself to other people. Okay, that was a really terrible soundbite. But, like I want to go out there and like, see other cultures and have other cultures see Asian cultures, right? And I think it's important to get out there and do that. Like my wife and I, we recently went to Peru, and then we came back with another cat because that's how crazy my wife is. Came back with another cat. And this is the thing, like, so this is the story that I'm gonna tell. This cat, we were in this park in Lima, and this cat jumped into my lap. And my wife was like, oh my God, we have to rescue this cat. And I was like, no, we're on vacation. What are you talking about? And she was like, no, like we have to. And I was like, we don't have to collect them all. They're not Pokemon. And she was like, no, but this cat, it jumped into your lap. It chose you. I was like, no, like this cat chose me the same way strippers choose me. Right? She's like, no, but it's destiny. I was like, that was also destiny. And so I tell my parents, and I was like, listen, like Jackie wants to rescue another cat, and they are furious, all right? Because they don't, every time we get a new cat, to them, it's like a lower percentage chance they get grandkids. And they want, all right? And I was like, why do you guys want grandkids that bad? Do you think if I don't have kids, the Chan name will die out? Just no more Chans. I think we're gonna be okay. Yeah, so they're like furious, all right? And then I was explaining to them, I was like, but this is how marriage is supposed to work, right? Like you support your partner so that they can be happy and vice versa, right? And I was like, I was asking my dad, I was like, don't you want mom to be happy? And my dad's like, no. I was like, what? What do you mean no? And he was like, yeah, we tried that once, didn't work. I was like, what happened? He's like, we had you. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but it doesn't matter. I don't want, like I'm stuck between my parents and my wife, and I only want to see one of these parties naked again. So going to rescue a cat, all right? It's a tit for cat kind of situation, basically. So we go back to that park in Lima, and we don't have a cat carrier to get this cat. So we ended up just like putting the cat in my wife's purse. Like this is what it looked like. We basically shoved the cat into a bag and we ran away. We shoplifted a cat is what we did. And it was fine. It went off without a hitch. What I realized though, is that to the locals in that park, what they saw was an Asian shove a cat into a bag and run away. Like I was the Hamburglar or something. Like for sure they thought I was gonna eat that cat. I was like, no, this is not how I want the Peruvian people to see Asian culture. So that was a bit of a mistake on my part. But anyways, we ended up getting this cat home. So we named him Churro, which is Peruvian slang for handsome boy, which he is. It's also a type of food, which he is not. We brought him back to Canada, and first of all, so easy to get him into the country. Like we literally like brought him to customs, and then the customs agent looked at it and was like, cute. That was it. That was all of it. Like it would have been harder to smuggle in a banana. And we got him into the country, and he had to get acclimated to the winter. So we put him in a parka.
Cute.
Here's the twist. The twist added into the story is that my parents adopted Churro. So now he's their cat, which is crazy. Like I think the best I can figure is that they're just like, oh, we've driven up on the idea of grandkids and we're going to settle for a grand cat. Like this is the best it's going to be. And and now like Churro lives with them and he sleeps on the couch. He does nothing. He just eats and he poops. That's it. Like classic underachiever. And my parents love him. I was like, where the fuck was this attitude when I was growing up? Right? Like, you let him get away with everything. This is insane. And so now, like, look, I'm an only child, but for the first time in my life, I'm experiencing sibling rivalry. The cat. and I am losing. Like, it's not going well for me. Like my every time I see my parents are like, Chero's amazing. Like Chero's so much better than you. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I have to fight back. I was like, well, Chero, he doesn't speak Mandarin. Like, he's never gonna like learn Chinese. And my parents are like, well, neither do you. So I was like, fuck. Well, Chero, he doesn't, like, he's never gonna go to med school, right? He's never gonna become a doctor. And then my mom's like, well, at least he's never gonna become a comedian.
Oh.
So yeah, so now Chero's their new son. Took my job. And yeah, it's just like, these immigrants keep stealing our jobs. Anyways, that is my Chero. That is my literal immigrant story. Let's get this show kicked off and like hear some immigrant stories from other people. We have an amazing lineup. You guys excited? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Woo! Right. Our first performer coming to the screen. She's a favorite in DC. She's a storyteller. She is so funny. Please give it up for Sofia Javed.
Hello. Hi, friends. Hello. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Sofia, and I hello again. Hi. Computers, right? Gotta love them. Hi, everyone. My name is Sofia, as Leonard said, and I am not a smart person. Like, I mean it. You don't want to have me on your trivia team. I cannot hold factoids of information in my head, except for one thing. There's one thing I've always known, and I've just had it in my head forever, and that is who invented the radio. I know this. And I know this because of a silly joke my father used to tell me when I was a little girl. Now, my father was an immigrant, but he was a father first, which means he had a corny joke ready for any situation always. So, like, if I said, Daddy, I'm so hungry, he'd say, really? I'm so Austria. Nice to meet you. And if I said, Daddy, I have a really bad headache, he would say, did you ever hear of a really good headache? Yeah. And then they're just terrible. But then there was the one about the radio. And it went like this. My father would say, hey, Sofia. And I would say, hey, what? And he would say, who invented the radio? And I would say, Marconi. Okay. So that's about Guglielmo Marconi, the Italian inventor. And that joke is only funny if I tell you that my father was an immigrant from Pakistan, and he spoke a language called Urdu. And in Urdu, the word mar means to hit, and the word koni means elbow. So the joke again went like this. Hey, Sofia, hey, what? Who invented the radio? Marconi. And then he would hit me with his elbow. Like a lot, repeatedly, and he would crack up. He thought it was hilarious. So the first moral is that dad jokes are corny in other languages as well. That's a universal thing. So yeah, he loved this joke. I did not enjoy or appreciate being hit by his elbow, but I fell for it every time. Now, eventually the years passed, and my father also passed, and I grew up and I forgot. I went on with my life, and eventually I forgot all about his silly little jokes. And in my early 20s, I found myself working as a teacher in a rundown little school in a rural desert in the former Soviet Central Asian Republic of Uzbekistan. You know, as one does in their youth. And now I was the immigrant, I was the foreigner, and I was living this experience. And I worked at this school, and my counterpart at this school was this woman in her early 40s, a local woman. She was the only English speaker in the entire village, and she prized her Soviet education. And she was very proud. And one day I was sitting in the back of her class watching her teach the lesson, and she began the lesson by announcing to the class, she said, "Ребята, сегодня праздник." She said, "Class, today is a holiday. It was May 7th, and I had no idea what holiday it was. I knew that May 9th is Victory Day in the former Soviet Union when they celebrate the surrender of Nazi Germany in 1945. But May 7th, we were 2 days early. What was May 7th? Well, she went on. She said, "Сегодня день радио." Today is the day of the radio. And I looked very confused. I was like, day of the radio? I had never heard of such a thing. So I asked her to explain, and she said, "Yes, Sofia, it seems to me today is the day that the radio was invented." Now, like I said, I don't know a lot of things, but I heard the invention of the radio, and I knew this one because as soon as I heard that, all of those jokes came back to me immediately. And I burst out in that classroom. I was so excited. I was like, Marconi, Marconi. It was Guglielmo Marconi, right? The Italian inventor. I know this one, Marconi. Marconi invented the radio. And I was so excited. And I was so proud of myself. I mean, I had actually remembered something useful that my father taught me all those years ago. I knew this one, and I was so excited. I was the only one who was excited. I looked up after my little outburst to see my counterpart standing at the front of the classroom with her arms tightly crossed and her eyes glaring right at me in utter disbelief of the display that I had just made in front of her students. And when she spoke, she knocked that excitement out of me in a split second. She glared at me and she said, "No, it was our Russian scientist, Popov." And I was like, what? Who is Popov? I had never heard of this Popov character. My father never told me anything about Popov, and I certainly did not know any jokes about Popov. Like, who is this guy? And she went on. She said, "Yes, on the 7th of May, we celebrate the day the radio was invented by Alexander Popov." And she said it with such conviction that I started to wonder. I started to doubt myself. I was like, wait a minute. Could my father have been mistaken about Marconi? Or worse, could he have made it up for his joke? Could it be possible that something that I was absolutely certain about in my head, something that I knew to be true, was actually not true? Like, did this Popov guy really invent the radio? I mean, after all, they had a whole day to celebrate it. And I was getting very, very confused. And then I imagined my father, and I felt him there with me, and I heard him say, "Hey, Sofia." And I felt him hit me with his elbow. And I was like, nope, I'm not letting this go. I have to get to the bottom of this. I cannot give up. So after the class ended, I raced over to the school's tattered set of donated World Book encyclopedias from 1984. Now, does everyone here remember what encyclopedias were? Like before, it was like when the internet was in books, and we had to remember the order of the letters in the alphabet in order to find anything. Anyway, I went over to the World Book encyclopedias, and the first thing I did, I pulled out M for Marconi, and I flipped through the M for Marconi, and there it was on the page, the radio. Perfect. Then I pulled out R, and I flipped to the radio, and there it was on the page, Marconi. And then I pulled out P for Popov, and I flipped to the page for Popov, and there it was on the page, nothing. And I was like, see? She wasn't impressed, though. She was like, ha, these are your American books. And I was like, yes, but American educational materials have never lied to us about history. Anyway, she had a point. I'll give her that much. And, then I even tried telling her my father's joke. I was like, get it? Marconi, Marconi. And she was like, please stop hitting me with your elbow. She was not impressed with that at all. I stayed in Uzbekistan for another 2 years after that. And the whole time I was absolutely determined to find out the truth. For 2 years, I asked everyone I met, young and old, in cities and in villages, Uzbek, Russian, other ethnicities. I asked everyone in every language I could find who invented the radio. And everybody said Popov. And the more I heard about Popov and about Day of the Radio, I started to worry that my whole childhood was built on lies. Because Popov, it seemed, was ingrained in their national consciousness. This Popov, what kept them in touch with their history. But the thing is, Marconi was ingrained in me. Marconi kept me in touch with my father and the things that he taught me. Marconi was part of my history. I mean, if we had hashtags back then, it was like hashtag I am Marconi. Marconi is me. But still, it was becoming clear that I wasn't going to win my case for Marconi. So eventually I let it go again. I finished out my time. I moved on with my life and I forgot about it until a couple of years later, I started graduate school with a bunch of international students. And one day at the beginning of the program, we were all gathered in someone's living room. Remember in the before times, we used to get together in closed spaces and have a nice time. We were all gathered in someone's living room and people were just getting to know each other. And somebody started talking about family and then stories were exchanged. And before I knew it, I was telling this story about my father and the Marconi joke and Popov and Day of the Radio and all this trouble I had once caused in an Uzbek village. And it must have sounded pretty ridiculous because everyone was having a pretty good laugh, except for one person, because in the middle of the crowd, there was a young woman named Malika from Tajikistan. And she was sitting in the couch with her arms tightly crossed and her eyes glaring right at me in utter disbelief. And the room quieted down and Malika opened her mouth and she said, Sofia, it was Popov. And I was like, oh shit. And I thought I was going to be in big trouble. And I thought, here we go again. But just at that moment, I thought of my father again. And I heard him say, hey, Sofia. And I heard him give me that elbow. And I thought, you know what? No, I've always known who invented the radio. And that's my story. Thanks.
Nice. Keep it going for Sofia, Javed, everybody. That was awesome. Yeah, this whole, by the way, I was like on Wikipedia, I'm like, who invented the radio?
So it's actually probably Tesla who gets most of the credit.
It says Marconi. So just justifying your father's joke, I think that we should let that live forever. I think that's the move. But thank you so much. That's a great story. And all right, we're going to keep the show rolling, though. Your next storyteller coming to the screen. She is currently in Kenya, but an amazing comedian, storyteller. She blends science and comedy. She actually is, I think, the official storyteller for NASA. So that's pretty awesome. Please give it up for Kasha Patel.
Wait, keep talking, keep talking.
Based right now. That's how cool, that's how NASA she is, all right? All right, well, let's see. What can we talk about while Kasha gets ready? Let's see. Oh, look, there's a big one.
Yay! I just know how to make an entrance. It's great. Hooray. Thank you very much, Leonard. Thank you for that wonderful, very flawless stall while my camera battery died and I quickly changed it. So thank you very much for that. And Sofia, that's a great story. I was actually in the middle of Googling like who invented the radio because, I mean, people always think Tesla or Marconi, and I don't know who that like poo-po guy is either, but it sounds like a bunch of poo-poo to me. That's my time, everyone. Thank you very much. It is funny, though, because this isn't like part of my set or anything, but I love how many different like American and like foreign language links there are there. I remember when I was young, my mom would call me Beta, which is like daughter, and like my brother's like Beti or whatever. And I remember one time she kept calling me that instead of my name. I'm like, Mom, you don't love me. You don't even know my name. You keep calling me Daddy. And she just, that is the most I've ever made my mom laugh. And I'm like now a professional comedian. And every time I like mention that, she like cannot talk because she's laughing so hard. So, you know, parents, they're crazy people. So yeah, I am a daughter of immigrants, and my parents' story is pretty incredible, and it will be better than anything I could ever experience in my childhood growing up. They are from India, so we got some other daughter of Indian immigrants, right, Preeti? Your parents are from India? Where are they from? Mine is from Mumbai, and then the state of Gujarat, a small farm there. Orissa. And, well, they're not from where my parents are from, so that's all that matters. That's all I was going to say. Oh, okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah, so my parents have a very interesting beginning. It's kind of like a fairy tale. So my mom actually grew up in this very posh community where she lived in a condo with movie stars. They were like the only ones in their like block. She lived in Mumbai that had a TV. So, you know, once a night a week, like all the neighbors would come and they would sit down, like theirs was a cool place to go. My mom never bought clothes. All of hers were tailor-made for her, so they're always one of a kind. They had chauffeurs take them everywhere they needed to go all the time. My grandfather was a chemist. And it was interesting because my mom was very determined. She wanted to be all of her brothers and sisters, you know, especially her sisters, it was like, okay, we need to get married. The parents were like, we need to get you married, and then that's going to be what you do. And my mom just kept putting off getting married over and over again. And every single time her parents would bring her someone, my grandparents were a little more liberal, and that they would give her the opportunity to say, what do you think about this person? And for some reason or another, my mom would always find something wrong with the guys, and she would always say no. And then finally, my dad comes along, and my dad, they knew my dad because it was like an uncle or something, a mutual friend who knew my dad. And my dad is from a very, very, very tiny farm. And basically, it was extremely special if he got a new pair of shoes like once a year. And that was like a very, very amazing thing. Like he was extremely poor. He ended up going to medical school, and that was because the whole town kind of like banded together and was like, you know, Ghostland is pretty smart. I think, why don't we pool all of our funds and send him to medical school? So it was just a very, very nice community. So the only thing that my mom knew about my dad was that he was an MD. So when they actually met, they said, okay, Shoba, my grandparents like Shoba, which is my mom's name. They said, okay, you cannot keep saying no. You have to marry this guy. What do you think? And she said, his eyebrows are too bushy. I don't think so. And they said, that is not a good enough excuse. You're going to get married to him. So that was kind of my parents' beginning. And it was interesting because like I have never had a wedding before, whereas my parents call it a second date. So it was something very special that they had. And what happened is my mom got married to my dad, and then later that week, my dad actually came to America, and my mom followed once like paperwork was done. So it was actually quite a long time. Eventually, they found themselves in West Virginia, which is where I was born. So I actually fill the unknown demand as Indian female comics from West Virginia. And my mom was so appalled by having to go to West Virginia, coming from the New York City of India and going to a very, very tiny town in West Virginia and thinking, why am I here? She didn't even unpack her suitcase for like 2 months because she's like, this can't be real. I don't think this is happening. And my dad, he was like walking around. He's like, this is great. This reminds me of home. This is exactly right. So apparently he's from like the West Virginia of India is what I found out during that time. But my parents had me there, and my parents tried so hard to bring the Indian culture into West Virginia and educate the kids. I actually found out that I do have some immigrant tendencies. I realized this recently, which means, so like immigrant tendencies means that I refer to Windex, the window cleaner, as fist, because that's the noise it makes when you use it. And that's the hand motion you make when you use it. Because that's how my mom taught me how to say it, because English was not her first language. So she taught me everything through onomatopoeia, which is also why I now refer to sex as meh. So there you go. But now my parents have been in America. They've been married. They're celebrating their 46th wedding anniversary this month, which is actually quite incredible. And it's amazing like how much they've progressed, how they've really come to make West Virginia and America their home. And I guess I never really understood, I never really realized how much they gave up until we actually went to India a few years ago. And it wasn't like a good, bad, or sad thing. It was just different because they've been in America for so long that when they go back to India, the people kind of treat them differently, right? So my mom, every time she would open her mouth, even before anything came out, the merchants there would always know that she is not from India, because even the way she like opened her mouth, they could tell that she had an American accent now. My dad, he never lost his accent, so he's still, people still tried to, like, people still were selling him mangoes at the correct price. Whereas my mom, they're trying to sell her like different saris, like 3 for 1, like selling like 1 sari for like triple the price or something like that. But my mom's too savvy to follow those tricks. But I didn't realize how much this really affected them until, and these are my observations, and I think my parents would also agree to a certain extent, but when we were in India, it just kind of felt like they're trying to prove their Indianness still, you know, like they're going around and they're still trying to barter. And I remember we were going to the Taj Mahal, which of course is, you can call it cliche, but the Taj Mahal is easily one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And every time I go back to India, I always go and see it. It is not overrated by any means. As soon as you see the outside, you realize like, wow, this is incredible. And the fact that this was built so long ago and that it's still standing, even though, you know, people have renovations and things like that, it's still absolutely incredible. But on our way there, we took like a little auto rickshaw thing to the gates, and our driver was telling us, okay, so, you know, there will be 2 lines when you go in there. There's a line for foreign nationals. That price to get inside is a little higher, but, you know, it's nice. They have it cleaner and it's a lot faster line to go in. To go to foreign nationals. There's also another line for Indian nationals, and that ticket is a little cheaper, and that is for Indian citizens. Don't do that line, because if you get into that line, you could get in a lot of trouble with the Supreme Court. People have actually who have been caught who are not Indian citizens in that line actually have to go and like they get arrested, and it's like a big, big thing. And I was immediately like, oh, okay, all right, thank you. That's all I needed to hear. I'm happy to be like just let's make sure we do foreign national. Just, you know, do the thing we were going to do, even if you didn't tell me to do that. So we're waiting in line, and it's a pretty long line. And it's me, my mom, and my dad. And I was kind of, I was a little bit at ease, right? Because my mom heard this, and my mom was going to be the one to do all the talking, and she was going to take care of things. And then as we're getting closer to the front of the line, my mom says she's not feeling so well. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? And she's like, oh, I need to find a bathroom. I'm like, can you wait? Like, there might be nice bathrooms inside. We're almost to the front of the line. Can you wait? And she's like, no. It's the kind you need to go to, like, right now. So, like, she was about to go and just leave. I was like, oh, okay, well, then I'll come with you because, you know, at least maybe 2 of us, we can find in your bathroom together, and it will be easier with 2 people. And we left the line and told my dad, who said, okay, Papa, this is your job. You have money to buy us 3 foreign national tickets. We trust you. Don't mess this up. Just do what you're supposed to do. So we leave him there, and we go to find the bathroom while my mom has explosive diarrhea. And we find a bathroom. Everything's fine. And as we come back, my dad has this huge grin on his face, and he holds up these tickets and he goes, "I got us the tickets." And then clearly on the tickets it says Indian citizen. And I'm like, what? This is the one thing we told you not to do. And he's like, he just gave it to me. He asked me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Chanasma." And I'm like, Papa, they're not asking you like a conversation, like, "Hey, where are you from? Like, how's the day? How's the weather?" They're asking you this information so they can tell you which ticket to buy. So my dad was just like, "No, he was a nice guy. He was just asking me, you know, who I am." He wanted to know my house address and everything. So I gave it to him. I'm like, okay. So we had these tickets and I was like, "Well, Mom, should we take them back? Because we have to go through this other line now with Indian citizens." And this is how I can tell that my mom still likes a good deal. She was like, "We already got the ticket. It'll be fine." And the line was still like kind of long. I was like, "I don't mind waiting in line. Like, I just don't want to go in front of the Supreme Court of India because we bought tickets for the wrong line." And my mom was like, "It'll be fine." So we go in the Indian citizens line. And my dad, they separate women and men. So my dad goes through, no problem. He looks, you know, he's just wearing the regular Indian men clothing, and he still has his accent. He did fine. He's just like clueless enough. They just like go through. So he made it out fine. Me and my mom, we stick out what feels like we look very obvious that we don't belong there. We're not wearing saris, which is what everybody else is wearing. And like all these other aunties are like bent over and they have their odnis up and everything. And my mom, like their little cover up. And my mom has just like this shawl from her, that's not even like an Indian pattern. She has a shawl that she pulls out from her purse and like tries to bend over to like look like them like an old lady and like covers her head. And then like, I'm like, "Well, if you bend down, then they can see me better. So I should also bend down." So we're like both just kind of hunching down as we're like kind of inching forward in this very long packed line of Indian women. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do when you have to go through the metal detector? There's a security guard there. And what if I'm not going to be able to understand what he's saying to me either, because like I can't speak Hindi that well. And I definitely can't open my mouth and try to speak Hindi because then he'll obviously know that I do not belong there. So my game plan was just to try and stick through and like get behind another other Indian family that like wasn't my mom, just like very, very close by and just like sneak through. And things seemed to be going well. The security guard wasn't even paying that much attention. They were just kind of letting everybody through. And then they get to my mom, and my mom, you know, just looked like about to go through. Everything was going to be fine. And then they stopped my mom. And I was like, "Oh, snap. If they stop my mom, she actually like is born in India. What are they going to do with me?" And they stopped my mom and they asked my mom, "Where are you from?" And my mom says, "Mumbai." And she gives her old house address. And then the guy goes, "Well, do you have proof of do you have identification or proof of your address?" And my mom is so slick. She just goes, "It's with my husband and my husband's already inside." And the security guard kind of gives her once over and was like, I think he was about to say something, but then there were like so many other people behind that he just pushes her forward. And then I come up next and he's like it's like, "Oh, okay, this one's a little too much." And then my mom grabs me and goes, "She's with me." And then we just like could take off running through the metal detectors. And we made it through, but like right when I thought I could breathe and everything was fine because we were allowed into the grounds, and I realized there's also two separate lines for foreign nationals and Indian nationals to actually get inside the Taj Mahal. And the foreign nationals is like such a nice experience. You go there, you meander, you have time to take pictures. People are offering to take pictures for you. You get in this other line and it's literally like a can of sardines where everyone is just really, really, really close together. People are pushing. You're not even moving. It's literally what like a mosh pit. It's like a mosh pit for the Taj Mahal. It was insane where you're just standing there and you're just like, just physics is moving you forward because so many people are coming. I didn't even have to move. It was just I was being moved forward and forward and forward. And we were there until the sun went down and the Taj Mahal inside was about to close. And I was so devastated because this was the first time in my living memory. I went when I was very little, but no one remembers anything when they're little. The first time in my living memory that I thought that I was going to see the inside of the Taj Mahal. And I was very sad. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm not going to see the inside of the Taj Mahal. What's going to happen? And my parents were also sad for me. And then my dad just kind of goes away for a second, and I see him talking to some security guards there. And he comes back and he says, okay, let's go. So he kind of grabs my hand, and like the security guard like takes us a little bit closer so we can get towards the front of the line. And we actually are able to go inside the Taj Mahal. And let me tell you, it was extremely underwhelming. Very, very underwhelming. Just see the outside of it. But it doesn't really matter because, I mean, we do a very, very quick once around, and you go around the outside. We didn't get to take like that many pictures. But, you know, that was the Taj Mahal of the inside. But that one, it didn't really matter, right? Because it was just kind of this great, interesting experience of my parents are trying to be, reclaim their identity of being Indian, but then at the same time, kind to come to grips with them being American, because I'm sure it was my dad who told the security guard that was like, oh, you know, we're not from here. I just want to show my daughter the inside of the Taj Mahal. Will you let us do this? And it was the kindness of the other Indians that my parents have actually kept with them throughout their entire lives. And the reasons why I think Indians are so great, there's this automatic camaraderie there. So we were able to actually see the inside of the Taj Mahal. It was pretty lackluster. And every time my parents and I talk about the story, we always talk about the process of going into the Taj Mahal and how my dad was so proud that he was seen as an Indian farmer boy from Chanasma. And then when we left the Taj Mahal, I remember my dad decided to pull up some, I remember my dad actually decided instead of getting us an auto rickshaw, he got us a taxi, which was like very nice, right? So it was like, his American side is coming out. And then he bartered for a lower rate by telling the driver to not use the AC. And I was like, that's the Indian part of him coming out. So I realized that, you know, it doesn't matter how many years you're removed from India, you can never remove the India from the Indian. Thank you.
Right.
Keep it going for Kasha Patel, everybody. That was great. Yeah, it was easier for me to bring a Peruvian cat into Canada than it was for you guys to get into the Taj Mahal. All right, we got you guys having a good time so far?
Yeah.
Hey! One storyteller left. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna assume that's you.
Say yes.
Woo!
All right, your final storyteller for the evening. He is also from Toronto, like myself. He's very funny. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's been on The Boys. He's on a show called Communist Daughter, which I don't think is out yet, but it's very, very good. He's killing it online because he's young and he understands the internet and he knows how to work TikTok, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. So, but he's so funny. Please give it up for Neema Nazeri.
Woo! Nice. Cool. Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Nice. Okay, good. All right. This is amazing. I'm used to, you know, performing on stage, but now I'm just in my room yelling at a laptop instead. So that's good. Yeah, this is awesome. I love how it's an immigrant show and pretty much half the audience are white people. And I love it. This is amazing. Okay. Yeah, I love you guys. You guys are all great. And then my boy Stuart Cohn right here. This guy, you just came in fashionably late. I love it. My boy Stuart. Yeah. You were finishing up dinner there, or what's going on? Yeah, he was. Yeah, or maybe a nap. It's okay. Either way, I don't blame you, man. I saw Phil Moses right here. Phil Moses. First of all, that stash, I'm jealous. Okay, you are a true macho man. Okay, you got to teach me your ways. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw your wife sleeping halfway through the show. So, you know, hopefully you don't sleep when I'm on. You probably will. It's okay. I'm used to that. Anyways, I'd rather you sleep than throw a tomato at me on stage. This is is much better. You know, less violence on Zoom comedy shows. I'm pretty sure Joel Ratskin, which I don't even know, she's not even watching. She's watching probably the hockey game or something. Oh, maybe. Okay, never mind. I think you're the one who said you were watching it on the projector. Is that what's going on? Yes, you are. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say like she looks like she's just so into a sports game right now. Because the NBA Finals is on, so I'm like I put two and two together. I was like, Joel's watching basketball while listening to Immigrant Stories. This is the best night I've ever heard in my entire life. Fantastic. Okay, cool. Hey, my girlfriend just came to the Zoom show, so now I have to be good, or else she's gonna break up with me. So, anyways, enough of me rambling about nothing for 2 minutes straight. My name is Neema. I am, I'm Persian or Iranian. I like to say Persian. It sounds nicer just in case. Okay. Yeah. You have to be sure, because when people ask me what my ethnicity is, and I tell them I'm Persian, they're always like, "Ooh, that sounds exotic. What is that? European? Is that perfume?" I'm like, no, Sharon, it's not. But you know what? It's fine. You know, I'm actually the first generation Canadian born in my family. My parents are from Iran, or Iran, as George Bush would say. You know, trust me, growing up, a lot of non-Persian people would be calling it Iran, and it was really annoying. But you know what? I can't blame them. But anyways, I'm from Toronto. My parents, they came here as refugees on a boat. It wasn't a nice boat. It was a shitty boat. Okay, that's for sure. And they came here, gave me a good life. Hey, hi, Stuart's wife. How are you? Oh, she left. Okay, yeah, never mind. No, she's good. All right, cool. Oh, by the way, Joel, you don't have to be like come close to you can still watch basketball. You're good. I feel bad now. You're like, oh, damn it, he's called me out. I have to come close to the camera. No, but yeah, like my parents moved here in 30 years ago. My brother was born in Iran. I was the first one born in Canada, and I, as the baby in the family, I was babied, and in very different ways. For instance, my dad, he's a very hardcore, strict kind of immigrant dad, Middle Eastern, like nothing. I'm never wrong, and I'm always right. Okay. And, didn't really care about what I was doing. He just wanted me to be amazing at math or science, right? Or else I'm a failure. Okay. He wanted me a doctor, lawyer, engineer, fail. There's no other option in my family. So, it was interesting growing up, and they dealt with me in very different ways. My dad's very, calm, collected, kind of strict. My mom, very worried, very paranoid, stalked me a lot of times when I was, trying to hang out with my friends. It was very concerning. Okay. I was like, was she like she a private investigator back home? Like, how does she always know where I am? When I'm like 12, so for instance, one time, I was supposed to go out with my friends, and, we're just walking, and I'm like 12, 13 years old at this time. We're actually hanging out in one of my elementary school's parking lots, in the playground basketball area. We're just like shooting hoops, just hanging out, having fun. And there's like 20 of us, right? So it's like, it's safe, we're good. And it's like about 8 p.m. My dad has no idea where I am, doesn't care as long as I finish my math homework. My mom, on the other hand, she is stressing, driving around the entire city because I live in a suburb, driving around the entire suburb, trying to find out where the hell I am. So she calls me, and at the time, that was when I first got my first phone, right? And it was a shitty Motorola flip phone. I mean, you guys, there's a lot of older people in here than me, for sure. You guys probably didn't even have phones growing up, right? But, for me, I was spoiled. I'm like, oh, what the hell is this shit? Right? Just so ungrateful. But no, so my mom's blowing up my phone like 50 times in the span of 7 minutes, right? I'm hanging out with my friends. I pick up finally after 8 minutes at this point, because if I don't pick up the 50-second call, I'm gonna die. I'm in the playground, we're just chilling, we're hanging out, and there's no one else around. It's about nighttime, it's in the summertime. There's the school, and then picture this: there's a school, and then there's a whole field, baseball field, and then a pool, and then a church and the parking lot in front of the church. So you can see it all from where we're standing. And it's about 100 meters around, right? There's no one in sight. I get a call from my mom. She's stressing, where are you? Who are you with? When? Why? How? 21 questions, as always, right? And, I'm telling her, I told you 17,000 times I'm with my friends, right? And we're doing nothing. We're just hanging out. She's like, okay, like, when are you gonna come home? Like, what are you doing? Oh, are you guys drinking? Are you guys doing drugs? You know what I mean? Like, who are you guys with girls? Like, I hope you're not with girls. I'm like, so what? You want me to be with guys? Like, I don't know. Like, right? Like, cause like, I don't know, like traditionally Middle Eastern people, they're usually like, they're not like homophobic, really. I mean, a little bit, but but like they're very traditional in their views, and they're man with woman, woman with man, right? So I was like, but she's always like, oh, like no, like if this was when we were younger, like if you were gay, like I don't know what I'd do, like I don't know, like, but like they also don't know how it is because they grew up in a different era, in a different lifestyle, different environment back home. It was just like, it's a sin to be gay back home, which is insane. I mean, even still, like some parts of the Middle East, like people get stoned or even hanged for being gay, which is insane. And what my point in here is like, she's always like, oh no, like, if you're gay, I don't know what I'd do. Like they're worried. But then now she's like, are you with girls? Like, don't be with girls. So like, who do you want me to be with? Pick one. Okay. And to answer your question, I'm not gay and I'm also not with women. So leave me alone. And so, she's talking, she's asking me all these questions. Then I look across the field and all I see is one car. And my mom had a white Volkswagen at the time. All I see is one car pull in to this church parking lot. It's at least 100 meters away. Okay. I see this one car pull in. She's still on the phone asking me what I'm doing with my friend. Trying to be like an investigator, like finding out if we're doing drugs or some shit. She comes in the parking lot, like this car comes in the parking lot, and I'm like, I know, I recognize that car, right? I'm not stupid. So I'm on the phone, I'm like, hey, by the way, where are you? And she's like, I'm home. What are you talking about? I'm at home. I was like, oh, really? Okay, cool. So like, you're not driving anywhere? She's like, no, like I'm watching TV, relax. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's not you in the parking lot of the church with your lights on, looking my way. And then as soon as I said that, all you see is the headlights of the car just shut off completely shut off. And I'm like, that is you. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, I wanted to know if you're doing drugs or drinking or with girls. I'm like, okay, just go home. I'm good. And then she like zooms off, and I was like, okay, yeah, classic move. And like she's very paranoid, and I get it. Like even when the first time I wanted to take I started driving when I was like 16 years old, and I wanted to take the car out to just like hang out with my friends and everything. The first thing she would always say is, Neema. Whenever I make fun of my mom or do an impression of my mom, I always feel like she's just stressing, just panting, just so worried about her kid, about her son, right? Because I'm the baby too, right? So I don't blame them. It's the mother's love, just overbearing sometimes. Every time I'd leave the house, my mom would always be like, Neema, please don't drive too fast, blah, 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 whatever. But the worst was when I came back home, because the first thing she would always say to me was, Neema, what happened? Was there lots of traffic? Did you watch the road? And I'm like, no, Mom, I do this new thing where I close my eyes and I let Jesus take the wheel, actually. And then she'll just be like, what? Who is Jesus? I'm like, she thinks it's like a person. I'm like, I'm just joking, Mom. Okay, like, he's not real. Anyways, I had to get that one. It's funny, and every time, I can't even complain in my house around my dad, especially because there's no excuses, right? And he's always right, like I mentioned before. My dad always has to be right. And like the main thing that I always struggled with growing up was, complaining about certain things, like because like we're living in a first world, okay? everything complaint I have is a first world problem. Okay, my phone battery is about to die. You know, my underwear is ripped. You know, it's very specific, I know, but you know, it happens. Okay, it happens. Hey Joel, how's the game so far? Looks good. Right? There's a lot of first world problems always. So I would always complain about having to wake up so early for school. Early for school for me was 8 a.m. Okay, now that I look back, I'm like, that's not that early. But at the time, I dreaded waking up to go to school. And so every time I bring that up, my dad would say the same thing to me. He'd always be like, Neema, listen, back home in Iran, okay, when, you know, I wanted to go to a school, it take me 13 hours. I have to walk 13 kilometer walking. Take my bike. I can't even ride the bike because it's broken. I have to walk with my bike. I have to walk with my bike 13 kilometer, climb the mountain, okay? Just to get to a school. Climb the mountain, take break because it's high altitude. I can't breathe. I have to take rest for 2 hours. Climb some more, go all the way down the mountain, okay? It's still going down the mountain. Say hi to my friend Bobak. Hello, hi. Right? Milk the goat. I had to milk the goat. Okay? And then finally, after 12 hours, I get to a school, okay? So no excuses in this house. You wake up at 2 a.m. for 8 a.m. class, okay? And I never did that. And that's why I'm doing comedy now. And that's why I'm not an engineer, okay? Or a lawyer or a doctor. I'm not a failure though. I'm actually doing pretty well now, which is nice. But you know what? It is what it is. You got to follow your dreams, go with what your passions are in life, and you know, you'll find a way somehow or other to make it happen and make it work. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to this show, and I wish you all the best. Good luck, my American people.
You're going for Neema, everybody. Awesome. Yeah, your dad's story is not like my mom's story. My mom grew up rich. She went to school in a limo, so she's just like, yep, I had 10 hours of school a week, and it was fine. So she could never say anything to me. Yeah, she actually followed my dad to Canada and gave up all that money for love. So stupid. So stupid. Why would you do that? Anyways, that's been our show tonight. This has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Give a big round of applause again to all the storytellers, comedians you saw tonight. Sofia, Javed, Kasha, Patel, Neema, Nazeri. And again, thank you to all the people who came and were with us tonight. I know that you know, basketball is happening. Joel's aware that basketball is happening. Let me know what the score is in the chat there, because I'm curious myself. And our next show is in November, the first Tuesday of November. And actually, I believe it coincides with a little thing called the election. So after you vote, hopefully for the right people, I'm not going to presume who you think the right people are. I don't want to judge. But yeah, go vote and then come see our show where we're going to tell stories and distract you from the end of the world. So that'll be November 3rd. So again, thank you so much for coming out. And everybody, have a good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you to our amazing comics and performers and storytellers. Thank you, Neema and Kasha and Sofia, and of course, our host, Leonard. And thank you, audience. You guys were great. It was super fun having you. And yeah, we will see you on Election Day. Our very next show will be then. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night and get home safe.